Good afternoon, everyone. It's the Mr. Brown Show. Uh, Welcome to BroncoIRadio.com, where every second of the day an artist is live. BroncoIRadio.com. We're proud to be. Welcome to the Brothers of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. Welcome to the sorors of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. And welcome to all the members of the Divine Nine organizations that may just be joining us tonight, this afternoon. Well, what's going on? I see on the news, not on the news, but keep your prayers out for the people in Philly and the victims of the DC crash, the DC helicopter aircraft collision. In Philadelphia, there were 6 people on the medical ambulance, air ambulance. And at one point, one person was killed on the ground. They were in their car. But the injuries have the people who it has expanded to on the ground in Philadelphia. It has expanded to 22 people, and with 5 people still in the hospital as I speak. 3 of which of those 5 are in critical condition. So please, prayers out to the families, prayers out to those victims that are out there. My dog is going to join me. Stop. Here we go. Okay, good. Yeah. So, little interruption, but there are 3 people who are in critical condition and need prayer. And so keep them in your prayers right now, as well as the family members of, thank you, my son coming to get the dog, as well as the family members of those who are deceased. Well, I'm watching the NFL Pro Bowl games, and I think it's Orlando, Florida, I believe. In Florida, let's put it that way. Florida's Florida, right? And they're out there doing their little thing, and they're out there having fun, and these are the guys who I guess eventually they'll have a Pro Bowl game, or maybe they did away with the Pro Bowl game and they just substitute these games for a Pro Bowl game because it's a lot safer on the players. You know, you get out there and play a real football game with pads and helmet, full contact. There's a high probability you can get injured in that game, just like any other NFL, any other game. So they got this going on right now with the, I guess, all those guys who are voted into the Pro Bowl. They're playing flag football. They're doing punt competition, things like that. They got tug of war. So yeah, that's pretty good. It's all fun and games for them, literally. And some people, I know those guys are counting their blessings because they're in the NFL. They're happy to be there. I was watching something the other day with Terry Crews, who at one point was on the Washington Redskins. He also played on other teams, I believe. I think he played on the Titans, Tennessee Titans. But he was on the Washington Redskins, and he talked about a time during the when they were during the season, at the early part of the season, where there are cuts, where they actually players who don't make the team have to turn in their playbooks and vacate the facilities if they weren't traded. I guess that either they become free agents or they're just no longer considered to be viable candidates to play in the NFL. But anyway, he talked about a time where him, his wife, and his children had moved to Washington, D.C. And he's really, really trying hard for the last couple because it's right before that, it's like 5 to 6 weeks. You're working your butt off in the NFL. And for those of you who ever thought, oh man, always wanted to be a professional football player, always wanted to be a professional basketball player, or always wanted to be a professional baseball player. Great. I did a sermon this morning titled Counting Your Blessings. Count your blessings. Because wherever you are right now and you're hearing this, it's where you are right now. It's where you're supposed to be right now. Doesn't mean you're gonna always be there, okay? But it doesn't mean you're always gonna be in that same spot or whatever you're doing. If you're aspiring to do something greater, fine. But if you always wanted to just say, I want to be in the NFL, I want to be a professional, man, do you know these guys basically live a life of hell? Because then at the beginning of the season, you gotta try out, literally, unless you were drafted. Even if you were drafted, you still gotta perform, and you gotta perform to a level to which your the authorities that be, coaches, management, are satisfied with your performance. Anyway, he thought that maybe if he can make it, it was just the cut day. They have cut day. They have a specific day in the NFL in August, and they, of course, were close to September, and the NFL has to cut their roster. All the teams have to cut their roster down to a certain number. Once they cut it down to that number, those are the people who basically you can say have made the team. They are now members of the NFL and whatever team they're playing on. Anyway, so he thought that it'll be okay, fine, that if he could just make it to that day without having to turn in his playbook, he would have made it. He made it with that team. With and in this case, there was the then known as the Washington Redskins. They are now the Washington Commanders. They changed that name a couple of years ago because of discrimination. The name was offensive to Native Americans. But anyway, he thought he'd just go ahead and he thought, oh man, once he made it to that day, he was in like Flynn. Made it to that day, made it past 12 noon that day. No one called him and said, hey, no one notified him and said, hey, turn in your stuff, turn in your equipment, turn in your playbook. All right. He calls his wife, go ahead and enroll the children in school. They enroll their children in the local school. They got all this stuff. They're making the connections with basically staying there, having some type of longevity there in the Washington metropolitan area. Later on that afternoon, like about 5 o'clock, somebody contacted him and said, hey, we need you to come back to the facilities and turn in your playbook. He said, what? No one called me and told me this. Is this a joke? They thought there was somebody. He thought he was being clowned. He thought he was being pranked. No. They said, you need to turn in your playbook and you need to turn in all this stuff. And then when you go there, he was saying, you got to check out in all these different departments. So they walk you around to the departments and you got to inform them you just been released. And he said, no, it just didn't feel real to him. But you know what? Because he just knew he had the job. The very next day, in his same position that he was going for, that he thought he had, they brought in 2 people at that position the next day, Tuesday. So he could have just took that and just said, oh my God, But then he thought it because I'm sure he had God on his side, and God just said, "Look, man, where are you now? Whatever you're doing, just make it as positive as possible." And he did. He says, "You know what?" He took that information, he took that, and he literally had to find a job. And he wound up getting a job with the a production company, movie production company, as security on their projects, doing their on-site projects. And he just changed his mind and said, "Man, I'm gonna do the best and make this like just as if I was getting 6 figures to do this job. I'm gonna perform and do what I need to do to be the best at it." And he had that positive attitude, and he kept that attitude the whole way, all the way up to the point where he wound up coming in and getting into showbiz, wound up doing movies. But had he not had that, he said, "Man, so many players come up and they're completely torn down once they get that notice saying, turn in your playbook, turn in your equipment. You're done with football." Because that was that individual's whole life. That's all they wanted to do. Not that he was always looking to do other things. He wanted to be a football player too, but he had to change his attitude. He had his family. He had to keep a good attitude and realize, okay, I'm going to find somebody. Even if I have to wash dishes, I'm going to pretend somebody's paying me 8 figures, 6 figures, 5 figures to do this job. And I'm going to do everything I can to be the best at it. Of course, nobody was paying him 5 figures to be security. Nobody was paying him 6 figures to be security. But whatever they were paying him, he was doing his top business. He was doing his top priority and having a good attitude about it. And preparing himself and going in there and performing that duty as if somebody was paying him top dollar. He had a good attitude about it. I said that because I also said I did a sermon, Counting Your Blessings. And a lot of you are saying, I want to go here. I want to be a professional football. I wish I could have done that. No, you don't. Because a lot of those guys, man, it is. If you ever played any collegiate sports, you know that it's all work. It is work. It ain't fun. Ain't nothing fun about it at all. It's work. And once you get in there, you got to keep performing and doing up to the top level that you are able to do. Not only that, more money, more problems. These guys have problems. These guys have issues. They got family members, they got friends, they got friends from the hood, cousins they never seen in years, cousins they never even known they had, coming out of the woodworks. Women looking for a husband. And if you get one of those women pregnant and you're in the NFL, you're hooked, brother. They got you on the hook. They got you hook, line, and sinker. You're in there. You are now designated to them for the rest of your life. At least you're designated to that child for the rest of your life. So they got problems. They got all kinds of people seeking them out, trying to turn their heads, trying to bamboozle them. They got to keep their head on a swivel. Not like they got to keep their head on a swivel on the football field. They got to keep their head on a swivel out there, and when they're walking around, driving around, want to go hang out in the clubs. Especially if you're a young guy and you want to go out hang out in clubs, you got to watch yourself. Craziness. If you are where you are right now and you always wanted to be a professional athlete, but you're where you are, wherever you are, whatever you're doing right now, you better thank God that's where you are. Now, if you're still trying to aspire to get to that point, and you're young enough and you have the age, you have the physical ability, God bless you. And that doesn't just go for NFL players or sports. It goes for anything. I always wanted to be a firefighter. I just couldn't have it. Didn't have it in me. I just one thing. I'm afraid of fire. I'm afraid of heights. You know, firefighters have to climb those ladders. They can't be afraid of heights. You know, they can't be afraid of heights. I always wanted to be a policeman. Oh yeah, I just don't like guns. Okay, good. Stay away from it. Wherever you are right now, if you always dreamed about being where you wanted to be and that passed you by and it's still plaguing you, don't let it plague you. The blessing is you didn't get it. You ever hear, be careful what you pray for because you just may get it? Well, be happy you didn't get it. Count your blessings. And enjoy the Pro Bowl games. Enjoy some of those guys are, you know, first time up there, and you can see they're millionaires on the field. But how happy are they? Do you think they're truly, truly happy? You think Russell Wilson is truly, truly happy? You think Zach Prescott is truly, truly happy? You think those guys are really, really happy with being out there? Really, really happy with being in the NFL? Where they risk arm and limb every day during the season? And they play hurt? They play injured? If you're making six figures, or you're making a couple million for me, oh, what happened? Oh, I sprained my wrist, so I think I got a broken finger. Really? We'll get you in rehab tomorrow. If that finger needs to be reset, we'll reset it. But guess what? Know this. If I'm paying you so many millions of dollars a year, your behind's going to be out there catching that ball. So look at it that way. Or if your ankle is hurt or your knee is hurt, you better understand that, oh, it's okay. How you feeling? All right, go sit in the ice tub. Go get on the exercise bike. Take this needle. Take this needle of cortisone. But your butt better get out there and catch some balls. You better get out there and score some touchdowns. That's the pressure they're under. So be happy where you are. Be happy. Count your blessings. Be happy that God didn't give you what you asked for. Mr. Brown Show.